Hello everyone, this video will be another video in a series where I rank every single support conversation for specific characters in the Fire Emblem series, specifically the Three Houses universe so far, and the character I will be talking about today is Seteth. Now, I will rank Seteth's support conversations based on how they introduce character development for both the characters involved, how interesting the support is, and if it applies, the strength of the paired ending that the two characters share. If you liked the video here today, like and subscribe for more Fire Emblem content in the future. Now let's get into the ranking of every support conversation that Seteth has in Fire Emblem Three Houses and Fire Emblem Warriors Three Hopes. The first one on this list is Seteth's support with Cyril, and really the reason it's this low on the list is simply because Cyril is just not that interesting of a character. Basically, throughout the entire support, all Cyril and Seteth discuss is Rhea, which, since Rhea is literally one of the only topics Cyril talks about in his supports, so that really doesn't make it that good. The weird thing is, even though the support level between these two can go up to A, they don't have a paired ending after the game, which is a little weird. Their paired ending could have been something like Seteth and Cyril work together to help the Church of Seiros or Rhea or something, so it's just weird that they don't have one at all. But even if they did have a paired ending, it wouldn't really bring it up at all in this list because it's just very boring. The main plot line of the support between Hanneman and Seteth is essentially Hanneman is interrogating Seteth to learn more details on his and Flame's crest, because Hanneman is a crest scholar and interested in that kind of stuff. Seteth obviously doesn't like that, and eventually at the end of the support he agrees to it as long as Hanneman does not interrogate Flame. And that's pretty much it. It's not really terrible, but there's not really anything too noteworthy. Another pretty boring one. The main topic is fish this time around, and how Seteth used to fish with his late wife, and how Leonie likes fishing. That's pretty much it. They just talk about fishing. Now, in no way am I saying the support is bad. I'm just saying with the stuff they talk about being fish, I can't really find a single piece of the support that I could think to elaborate on. So my feelings on the support are pretty indifferent. This next support starts out pretty strong. Hilda tries to dodge doing a bunch of work, and Seteth calls her out on it, which was pretty cool to see. And if that was the main plotline of the support throughout the entire thing, it would be much higher in this list, but after the C support, it essentially becomes a copy of the support between Seteth and Bernadetta. Sure, it can be argued that the Bernadetta support copied off of this one, but I'm more inclined to believe that it didn't, and that was the original one, because that support talked about writing and books throughout the entire thing, whereas this one started out talking about something completely different. In their paired ending, Hilda becomes Seteth's illustrator as he becomes an author, which again is the exact same thing as Bernadetta and Seteth's support, but in my eyes, I just feel like Bernadetta makes more sense to be Seteth's illustrator than Hilda does. I actually really like this storyline and direction for Seteth's character, but I feel if I put these two right next to each other, since they're the same storyline, that'd be kinda cheap, since one borrows from the other. This support is pretty formulaic. It follows the same I can't trust Shez because of his mysterious power storyline that is present in many of Shez's supports and the main story even. I guess the storyline does fit the character, as Seteth is a very cautious person, especially around Rhea and Flame. And the plot progression is very similar to the other ones with this storyline, starting off with him telling Shez that he can't fully trust him because of his mysterious powers that may or may not be linked to the Agarthans, to eventually that he can trust him because of all the stuff he's done in the war. The issue is now with the storyline, as I feel like the storyline makes sense because Shez's powers are linked to the Agarthans. I just feel like the storyline is overused, as his route that Seteth is in, Azure Gleam, already has a separate storyline where someone can't trust Shez, that being to do. I really enjoy the father-daughter dynamic between Seteth and Flame, but I feel like in this support it doesn't really get its chance to shine because of its length. A flaw with many of the supports in Three Hopes, the short length doesn't really give the supports time to shine, as there's really only one 3-minute conversation that the two characters have. The actual support follows along the same lines and topics that the Three Houses support did, but I feel like this one's a lot weaker, as they really just have to cut to the chase that Flame is actually Seteth's daughter, which in Three Houses you don't find out until doing the end of their support, unless you do their Chapter 9 paralogue, but that's not the point. I mean, the support is fine, but it definitely would have helped if it was just a little bit longer. I feel like this support is a better version of Seteth and Cyril's support. They pretty much only give backstory for the entirety of the support, which is fine because we don't really get to hear much stuff about Catherine being at the academy. But other than that, there's not much to say about the support. It's pretty standard. This support is a lot better than Catherine and Seteth, as I feel it overall is just a lot more interesting. The main topics in this support is Count Galatia's financial situation, Crest, and Ingrid trying to find out what she wants to do after the war is over. The 10 Elites / Crest talk that they have was pretty interesting. Same goes for the Count Galatia part, as we learn that he was a really nice father to Ingrid, letting her live her life of luxury that nobles usually get to live, even though their family was poor, which ties in nicely for Ingrid finally finding out what she wants to do by helping her father and her house by becoming a knight for House Blythed. The one thing negative about the support is that the last A+ rank is blocked off by having Azure Moon as your route, which is a little weird. I get that she becomes a knight for House Blythed, but isn't there a way they could have reworked that so it would have worked in Silver Snow and Verdant Wind too? Maybe they could have changed up some dialogue, maybe changed the ending for the different routes, but that's just a minor grievance really. It's still pretty good. This support's pretty good too, as we get to learn what got Manuela into singing, that being when she was a little kid she heard someone singing in the monastery, who is very heavily hinted to be Rhea. Although Manuela says in the support that she thought it was the goddess Seteth. Overall, this is a very solid support, but a lot of the stuff they talk about doesn't really interest me that much, so that's why it's at number 6. The thing I really like about Yuri's character in Three Hopes is that we get to learn a lot more of his backstory compared to Three Houses. And that applies here, as we get a big chunk of info on how Yuri attained his crest when he was a kid. Basically, when Yuri was a kid during the plague that occurred in Fargus, him and his mother were taking care of an old man, and that old man helped Yuri out by giving him the crest of Aubin so he would survive the plague. And it turns out that that old man was likely Aubin himself. And because of that, Yuri is likely going to live a lot longer life than a lot of other people. And this is the kind of support that I like the most in Three Hopes. These supports that gives background information for stuff we didn't learn about in Three Houses. And although, like most of the supports in Three Hopes, it is shortened, it definitely doesn't hurt it that much because a large part of it is just giving cool background information. The first part of the support largely just goes over what Seteth does as the second-in-command to Rhea, which honestly really isn't that interesting, as it doesn't tie into the main topic of the support, Byleth's past. Basically talking about how Rhea is essentially the one that created Byleth before Rhea eventually tells the full story at the end of Silver Snow / Verdant Wind. It also talks about how Byleth, Rhea, Flayn, and Seteth are like family, basically saying that they are children of Seteth, or in Byleth's case, the reincarnation of Seteth. What I feel the support does best in is a nice teaser for the end of Silver Snow, where before the final battle, Rhea tells Byleth all about his past, and how he was essentially put in with Seteth's heart so that he could survive. I've already talked about the storyline and the support when I talked about Seteth and Hilda's support, but the storyline itself, like I said earlier, is really good. I really like the idea of Seteth becoming an author to teach children lessons, first in the monastery, and if you get their paired ending all across Fodlan, because it really fits Seteth's stern but kind personality. Outside of Seteth, Bernadetta goes through the same style of character development that she does in a lot of her supports, learning to open up to other people and her friends around her. I think out of the supports that do this, I prefer this one the most, because Bernadetta ends up becoming an illustrator for Seteth, which definitely helps into the main storyline being his authorship. There's a lot of moments in the support that are trying to make you feel like, ooh, I know this but they don't, especially with moments like Bernadetta saying, oh, if only I knew Saint Keyhole in real life. And I really like that, because I enjoy moments outside of the story at least, where the characters are acting really dumb about an answer that's right in front of them. This support's really great. The only thing bogging it down slightly is the fact that Hilda and Seteth support have that same storyline, but no matter what, it's still really great. Out of all the supports in Three Houses that only go up to B rank, this by far is the best. It really helps you see why Felix hates his father so much and hates how chivalry is so valued in Fargus. In addition to telling the story after the tragedy of Duscur was over, where it was revealed to Felix and his father that Glenn had died. The main themes of this support are friendship and beliefs, and it is very consistent throughout the entire support. Seteth gives his opinion on the value of friendship, and Felix gives his opinion on the tragedy of Duscur and Fargus as a whole. And the support is very intriguing, which is a big reason it's number 2 in this list. Finally, at number 1 is the Three Houses version of the support between Seteth and Flayn. Throughout the entire first part of the game, Seteth is very overprotective of his daughter Flayn. In the Three Houses, this is really the only support that helps Seteth get over that. There's a kind of funny moment in the beginning where Flayn is telling Seteth that she'll be safe and he doesn't need to worry, since she's in the care of Byleth and the other students of her house. She gets mad for his overprotectiveness, walks away. Seteth stands there in complete shock, and then immediately after ignores what she's just said. Obviously, there's some character development for Seteth as he learns to let Flayn loose a little bit, and even Flayn learns that he's only doing that because he would feel really lost if she died. There's even a sweet moment at the end where Seteth finally lets Flayn call him father, even if someone could hear them. Their paired ending is really great too, as they awaken to a new Fodlan that had radically changed after the end of the war, after they had slumbered for an undisclosed amount of years. And that is why, out of all the Seteth support conversations in 3 Houses or 3 Hopes, this one is the best. Thanks so much for watching another video in the support ranking series. I'm not really sure who my next character will be, as I have quite a bit of videos planned in the coming months. Next month I will be giving my entire opinion on Persona 5 Royal, so I hope you're looking forward to that video. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all next time.